My name is Dimas, a final year student majoring in environmental health. My last internship. It should have been a normal experience, but that night, everything changed, and I haven't felt safe since. I was an intern at Taman Harapan Mental Hospital, old, weathered, and holding many secrets that even the permanent employees are reluctant to talk about. The building has 3 blocks, a B and C, but one thing that always bothers me is an empty corridor at the east end, which is never included in the room map. That night, around 1 o'clock, I heard the logistics train moving by itself. The hallway is empty, there's no one, but that train moving towards the end of the hall. I followed him, and there, I saw something I had never seen before. An old filing cabinet shifted as if someone had moved it. Beyond it, a dark hallway. Above the gap, a rusty plaque. Block D. Block D. I've never heard of Block D. It's not on the floor plan. It wasn't mentioned at orientation. Even the security chief said it was just a through C. I turn on the flashlight on my phone. I go in. My first step across the threshold feels heavy, like I'm being pulled in. The walls are dull, the lights flicker, the smell is weird, stale antiseptic and blood. There were rows of doors, prison cells. I thought they were solitary, confinement rooms, but why was it never mentioned? I approached one door, peering through the small bars, and I saw someone standing inside. He was looking at me, but his face, it was my face. I stepped back, my breath quickened, but the door slowly opened on its own. The metallic sound was like a groan. I ran, looking back. The figure didn't chase me, but I felt it was still there, watching me from the shadows. That night, I didn't sleep, and since that day, I kept coming back to that hallway, as if I was being called by something that had been waiting for me there for a long time. Every night, when everything is quiet, I feel like someone is watching me, not from the cameras, not from the patients, but from the shadows. The next night, I purposely returned to the end of the hallway, but the closet was back in its place, covering the gap to Block D. As if it had never been opened, I moved the closet again, but the gap was gone. Just a concrete wall, flat, no door. I was sure it was the same place, but now empty. I asked the security guard. He just smiled briefly. Sometimes the night can play with our heads, Mas Dimas, he said. But his eyes weren't joking, as if he knew more than he was saying. The next night, I went back to work, and that night, someone put a brown folder on my desk. No name, no message. I opened it. It was a patient record, patient Block D, and the name at the top, Dimas H, subject 17. I immediately panicked. Is this a joke? I went to the data room to find my internship records to prove that I was anything but a regular intern. But my internship notes were gone. On the shelf where my documents should have been, there was just another folder. The folder read, Patient Evaluation 17, Identity Delusion. I ran to the break room, opened my phone, searched for photos. Everything was still there. My college photos, my supervisor, my friends. But all the faces were blurry, distorted, like they were blurred by something. My face was blurry too. What is really happening? Who is messing up my life? Or am I living in the mess myself? That night, when I was about to sleep, in the mess hall, I heard a soft knock on the door. I thought it was a nurse, but when I opened it, there was no one there, just a small piece of paper slipped under the door. It had only 2 words written on it, Remember US. The following nights, the shadow grew closer. It followed me, and every time I looked in the mirror, the shadow looked more and more like me. One part of the hospital that is rarely entered, the old archives room, located on the ground floor near the boiler room. Most people call it the dead warehouse. I went there in secret. I needed answers about Block D, about who I really was. The room was dark and damp. The smell of mildew and wet paper stung my nose. Stacks of old folders were scattered on rusty metal shelves. I found a drawer labeled Patient D, Special Therapy Tapes. I opened it. It was filled with old tapes. Some were damaged. There was only one left. It said Subject 17, Hypnotherapy Tape 03. The subject seems unresponsive. We tried repeating the basic suggestion. Dimas, what is your full name? Dimas Hayo. You are not an intern. Dimas, you are a patient here since 2019. No, I am just an intern. I am studying. It is all part of your therapy. I dropped the tape. My hands were shaking. That was my voice, but I've never been to therapy. I'm not a patient, or was I really a patient? And all the memories of college, internships, lecturers are just layers of my own imagination. Suddenly, there was a sound, soft footsteps. I turned my head. Someone was standing in the corner of the warehouse. It was too dark for me to see clearly, but his posture was the same as mine. He slowly turned his head and smiled. His face was my face. I ran away from there. I didn't dare to look back, but that night I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because on my bedroom table there was a new folder with one photo. The photo was me, but much younger, in a mental hospital patient uniform, and on the back of the photo it was written in handwriting, "You asked to be erased." If this is indeed the deletion, so why am I starting to remember again? Day by day, I doubt myself more and more. Everyone in this hospital is starting to act strangely. The nurses won't look me in the eye when they talk. The doctors always give vague answers, and when I ask, "Am I a patient here?" they just smile. That night, I tried something crazy. I went into the CCTV room alone. I hoped to see footage from the past few days, proving that I was an intern, but what I found made my blood run cold. First night footage, I'm not wearing my intern uniform, but a patient uniform. A blue striped pattern, like the ones worn by isolation patients. And, crazier still, in the footage, I'm walking alone down the hall. There are no hidden doors. There's no Block D, just me, talking to myself, touching a blank wall and smiling. I hallucinated. No way. No way. I went to the hospital chief's office. I forced my way into the personal file drawer, and there are classified documents. The Initiative D, project an experiment in identity erasure through extreme suggestion, therapy and confinement. Patient Subject 17 showed an initial response, but relapsed after the second phase. Subject Dimas Hayo. They implanted an intern identity because I was too dangerous to face as myself. I was an experimental subject, but something didn't go according to plan, and now my identity is starting to crack from two sides. That night, I broke the mirror in the mess hall because my reflection laughed, not a smile, not nervous, but laughing like a madman, and I didn't laugh. I ran away, got out of the hospital, ran to my boarding house outside the city, but when I arrived, the boarding house was empty, uninhabited. It had been abandoned for years. On the wall, it was written in red chalk, "You never go outside." I don't know what day it is. The clock doesn't matter anymore. The sky never changes after I get out of the hospital, or My mind went out. I started walking, searching for answers, who I am, what is real, but every path takes me back to the same place, Block D Alley. This time, the hallway is endless. Every door I pass through has another version of me. The crazy dimers, the murdered dimers, the murdering dimers, the dimers who keeps trying to get out and failing. Every cell is like an alternative life I never lived, like I'm doomed to repeat it all over and over again. I finally reached a door, the last door. On it was written one word, truth. I opened it slowly, and inside I saw it, me, tied to a chair. Surrounded by doctors and nurses, the other me was screaming, struggling. I'm not crazy. I'm not a patient. I'm an internship. The doctor injected something into his neck. He slowly became still. His eyes stared blankly at me and smiled. I was just an illusion in his mind, a healthy version he created to survive. I was a fake identity. A story he wrote himself to stay alive in his mind. And now, as he dies in his mind, I am gone too. If you hear this, and one day enter Taman Harapan Mental Hospital, never open a door that is not on the plan, because that hallway is not a way out, it is where we are locked up forever. I am still here.